Hi, I'm Govil Kumar. Now I'm going to explain experiment through exploratory data analysis. The question number one is to import the data sets and display the first 15 rows. I import the pandas library SPD, which is used for handling the tabular data. Then I use the pd.read underscore CSV function to read the store file and store it in the data frame number named df. Finally, I use the hit 15 method to display the first 15 rows of the dataset. This helps verify that the dataset has been loaded correctly and provides a quick overview of the data. Question number two is to display the total number of rows and columns in the data frame. I use the sharp attribute of the data frame to determine its dimensions. The shape attribute returns two values. The first value represents the total number of rows and the second value represents the total number of columns. By using df.shape function, I display the number of rows, and by using df.shape function 1, I display the number of columns. This helps us understand the size of the dataset. The question number three is to display the statistical information of the quantitative and qualitative columns. I use df.describe function to display statistical information of the numerical columns such as count, mean, standard deviation, mean value, maximum value, and quarters. Then I use df.describe function to display the summary of category columns. It shows the counts, number of unique values, the most frequent value, and its frequency. This provides a complete overview of both the numerical and categorical data in the dataset. The fourth question is to find the maximum value of the total columns, the count of branch column, and the standard deviation of the age column. I use the max function to find the highest value in the total column. Then I use the count function to count the number of non-empty values in the branch column. Finally, I use the standard function to calculate the standard deviation of the age column. The standard deviation indicates how much the age value vary from the average age. Question number 5 is to increase the values in the price column by 20% and store the result in the new column name update underscore price. I multiply each value in the price column by 1.20, comma, which increases the price by 20%. The updated values are stored in the new column called updated price, while the original price column remains unchanged. Finally, I display both the price and updated price column to compare the original updated value. The question number 6 is to count the total number of null values in the data frame and replace all null values in the numerical column with 0. I use the isNull function dot sum function to count the number of missing or null values in each column or data frame. Then I identify all the numerical columns using select underscore dtype function. After that, I use the flumna function to replace all missing values in numerical columns with 0. Finally, I display the null value count again to verify the missing values have been successfully replaced. Seventh question is to append two new records to the data frame and display the updated data frame. I created a new data frame called new underscore data containing two new records with the values for all the required columns. Then I use the pd.contact function to combine the original data frame with the new data frame. The parameter ignore underscore index is equal to resets the row index so that the row numbers remain continuous. Finally, I use the tail function method to display the first 5 rows and verify the new records have been added successfully. Eighth question is to group the data frames by branch and calculate the sum, mean, and maximum of the total column. I use group by method to group the records based on the group column. Then I select the total column and use the add function to calculate multiple values at the same time. The sum function calculates the total sales, the mean function calculates the average sales, and the maximum function finds the highest sales value of each brand. Finally, I display the group results. A ninth question is to identify the column with the highest number of missing values, drop it, and display the updated data frame. I first count the number of missing values in each column. using isNull.sum function. Then I use the id max function to identify the column with the highest number of missing values. After identifying the column, I remove it using the drop function. Finally, I display the updated data frame to verify the column has been successfully removed. Our 10th question is to drop the 10th and the 12th row from the data frame and display the updated data frame. I used drop function with index is equal to 9, 11 to remove the 10th and 11th rows from the data frame. Python uses zero based indexing. So index 9 represents the 10th row and index 11 represents the 12th row. Finally, I display the updated data frame to confirm that the selected rows have been successfully removed. Now we move on to the 12th question. Our 11th question is to find the frequency count of unique values in the payment and product line columns, the values in percentage, and sort them in ascending order. I read the stores file into the data frame using the pd.read.csv. Then I use the df.columns.toList to display the names of all columns in the dataset. This helps verify that the dataset has been loaded correctly and allows me identify the exact columns names before performing operations such as finding the frequency count, percentage distribution, and sorting the value in the payment and product. Our next question is to display the first n largest and n smallest values of the total column using the enlarge function and the n smallest function method. I assign the value 5 to the variable n, which specifies the number of records to display. Then I use the enlarge method to display the 5 rows with the highest value in the total column. Similarly, I use the n smallest function to display the 5 rows with the lowest values in the total column. This method helps identify the highest and lowest transition quickly. A 13th question is to display the first 5 and last 5 records where age is greater than 25, quantity then quantity is greater than 5 and the rating is greater than 8. I filter the data frame by selecting only the records where the age is greater than 25, the quality is greater than 5 and rating is greater than 10. These conditions are combined using a logical and operation, so only the rows satisfies all three conditions are selected. The filter data is stored in the variable results. Finally, I use the head function method to display the first 5 records and the tail method to display the last 5 records. Our 14th question is to display any 5 columns using the local function method. I use the loc function method to select specific columns from the data frame. The symbol selects all the rows while the column label specify the 5 required columns: branch, city, product line, total, and rating. The loc function method assigns total using data using the row and column labels, making it easy to retrieve only the required information. 15th question is to identify whether the value electric accessories exists in the product line column using dot any function. I first remove any extra space from the column names using string.strip function. Then I compare every value in the product line column with the text electronic accessories using EQ function method. The comparison returns a series of true and false values. Finally, I use dot any function method to check whether at one true value exists. If the value present anywhere in the column, the output is true, otherwise it is false. 16th question is to use apply function to calculate the square root of the price column. I import the numpy library because it provides mathematical functions such as squared function. Then I use the apply function on the price column and pass np. Square test function to calculate the square root of each value. The calculated values are stored in a new column called square underscore root underscore price, while the original price column remains unchanged. Finally, I display both the column to compare the original price with their square root values. Our 17th question create is to create a copy of the data frame and permanently remove the payment column from the copy data frame. I create a copy of the original data frame using the copy method and store it in the variable named copy underscore df. This ensures that any changes made to the copy data frame I use the drop function with the axis is equal to 1 to remove the payment column. The parameter in middle values after arranging the rating in ascending order. Finally, I use the mode function to identify the rating value that appears most frequently in the dataset. These three measures help summarize the central tendency of the rating column. 21st question is to rank all transactions based on the total in descending order and create a new column named sales underscore rank. I use rank function to find the total column with the parameter ascending is equal to for rank all the transaction with the highest total amount followed by rank 1, rank 3 and so on. The calculator ranks are stored in a new column called sales rank. Finally, I display both the total and sales rank column to view the ranking of each transaction. My 22nd question is to group the data frame by product line and calculate the total quality sold, average price and average rating. I use the group by method to group the records based on the product line column. Then I use the egg function to perform multiple regression operation. The quantify columns uses the sum function to calculate the total quality sold, while the price and rating columns use the mean function to calculate their average value. Finally, I display the grouped results for each product line. 23rd question is to create a pivot table showing the average total for each product line across different branches. I use the pivot table function to summarize the dataset. The product line column is used as the row indexing. This branch is used as the column heading and the total column is selected as the value to be analyzed. The parameter egg function calculates the average total for each combination of product line. The parameter egg function mean calculates the average total for each combination of product line and branch. Finally, I display the pivot table which provides a clear summary of the average total accessed across the different branches. Question number 24 is to display the top 10 highest rank transaction based on the sales rank column. I first create the sales rank column using the rank function method on the total column with the ascending is equal to false. Then I use the sort value function to sort the data frame in ascending order of the sales rank column so that the highest ranked transaction appears first. Finally, I use the head function method to display the top 10 highest ranked transaction. Last question 25 question is to group the data frame by branch and payment method, calculate the average total and total of each group and display the results in ascending order. I use the group by function to group the data set based on both the branch and payment method. Then I use the egg function to calculate the average value of the total column. The average value of the rating column and the total sum of the qualitative columns for each group. After the calculating these values, I use the sort function with ascending is equal to false. Finally, I display the grouped and sorted results, making it easy to compare the performance of the different branch and payment. Thank you.